We are good to go.
All right, thank you, Brendan. And welcome everybody to the September 14th, 2022 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. Welcome back from summer to everybody. My name is Kyle Thide and I'm the chair of CB6. This meeting is called to order at 7:02 p.m. And tonight we are joined by Secretary Matt Bondi, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth, and Community Associate Alexandra Crawford. As a reminder, New York State law now requires that all community board members have their cameras on and have their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the meeting is adjourned. If your camera is not on and your name not properly displayed, you cannot count towards quorum. And if you must step away from your computer briefly, you are required to leave your camera on. In order to conduct an efficient meeting tonight, let's observe a few ground rules. First, no one may speak until granted the floor. Please raise your hand through Zoom and wait for the chair to recognize you. Then you can unmute and make your comment. The chat function should not be used for CB6 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. And the chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information such as an email address or link that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. We are required by New York State law to have a transcript of this meeting, so please keep all questions and comments pertinent and succinct. And to the members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session and have not already registered by filling out the form on the website ahead of time, you can register to speak in the public session by using the Q&A feature of Zoom and posting your name, affiliation, and the specific topic you wish to speak about. This needs to be completed by 7:15 p.m. So the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. So board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom. Okay, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We will now take attendance by roll call. So I'll turn it over to the secretary.
Thank you, Kyle. I will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, you can unmute yourselves and answer present when your name is called. Abdul Samad.
Present.
Athide.
Present.
Barkley.
Present.
Barrett. Barrett. Okay. Barroso.
Present.
Claire Brennan.
Present.
Collins.
Present.
D'Errico.
Present.
Thank you. Desser.
Present.
Devereaux.
Present.
Disman.
Present.
D'Onofrio. D'Onofrio. Hey. Freumowitz.
Present.
Goldberg.
Present.
Goldberg. Hartke.
Present. Present.
Was that Goldberg? Sorry, I missed
Yes.
that. Okay, thank you. Hartke.
Present.
Thanks. Hollister.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Howard.
Present.
Judge.
Present.
Keller.
Present.
Kalani.
Present.
Kruzmark. Kruzmark. Leftoff.
Present.
Littman.
Present.
Malner.
Present.
Matthew.
Present.
McKee,
Present.
Mintz,
Present.
Napolitano,
Present.
Nayar,
Present.
O'Keefe,
Present.
O,
Present.
Patel,
Present.
Roberts. Roberts. Okay, Shire,
Present.
Seligman. Seligman.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Sapersky,
Yo.
Shah,
Present.
Sherrod. Sherrod. Okay, Siddiqui,
Present.
thank you. Simon,
Here, I'm here, present.
okay, Singleman. Singleman. Okay, Steinberg,
Present.
Thompson,
Present.
Terzo,
Present.
Neuenhoven,
Van Nieuwenhoven, present.
Weintraub.
Present.
Wang. Wang. Okay, White. White?
Present.
Okay, thank you, Ronnie. All right, we have a quorum. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Okay, so I've asked all of our elected officials to send over their reports ahead of time so that we can compile them. You can find all of the reports that were submitted on the CB6 website, and the link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time to all board members and the general public, and for your convenience can now be found in the chat as well. I will call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP'd so that they can take questions from CB6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will have 1 minute to field questions, and if there are no questions, we will move to the next elected official on our list. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they have 3 minutes to present that. During this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. So we'll begin with Councilmember Rivera. Councilmember?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So happy to see everyone. I will be brief, as was mentioned. So you do have the committee report. Today we had a stated meeting in the council where the council members come together. We've passed a couple of bills I think that are worth noting, legislation on tracking illegal firearms here in New York City, as well as establishing a nightlife opioid antagonist program. We passed those two bills today in the stated meeting. We also had a hearing yesterday on a bill that I am co-sponsoring with our friend from the West Side, Councilmember Eric Botcher, around mental health services within our shelter system, because we know that those families and individuals are not being served adequately with mental health support. I think we can see that reflected, in the city, but also based on the feedback that we're getting from families living within the system themselves. A couple of other things I just wanted to mention, we are working on, as is included in a blurb in the newsletter, but, sanitation issues, quality of life. We have allocated through this last city budget extra funding for increased sanitation services. And of course, any sort of questions or concerns that you might have. I know many of you are great partners with our office, and you've been incredibly supportive and also assisting us with numerous inquiries and concerns. So please keep it up. Thank you all for your service. I really, really do appreciate it. In my chair capacity of the Committee on Criminal Justice, we are having a hearing on September 23rd regarding the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding in Rikers Island. Today, it was reported the 14th death this year on the island. So I will be exercising my charter mandated responsibility of oversight and investigation over the Department of Corrections to get to the bottom of that situation. Locally, I will also say we have been spending a lot of time on water contamination crisis in Jacob Riis houses. It is located in Community Board 3, but I know many of you are very dedicated to improving conditions in public housing and in housing across the city. And so knowing that something like that has come up and how siloed our agencies are, and our fear that if something like this were to happen in any development, including one of those here in Community Board 6, that the city is not ready to handle the situation efficiently. So the Public Housing Committee will be having a hearing on that. That will also be on the 23rd, and I will be present to ask questions to ensure whether it's Strauss, 344, or any of the hundreds of thousands of people that live within our public housing system, that we understand when there is an urgent crisis, we are ready to take it, face it head on, and ensure that families feel supported with resources and information. I guess with that, I will be happy to take questions if anyone has them.
Perfect timing. I feel like you do this professionally. Are there any questions for Councilmember Rivera from the board or from the public?
And we'll make sure to put in the chat. I think you all know the email. But there it is. We just dropped it in the chat. Please let us know anything at all. And again, I really do appreciate our partnership. I don't see any hands, and I respect everyone's time. So thanks, everyone. Thank you. Stay tuned. We should be passing some great bills on livable streets and improving housing conditions. And always, always, always at your service. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks so much, Councilmember. We'll move on to Pat from Councilmember Powers' office. Pat.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Everyone had a good summer. I do have one thing to add to our report that didn't make it in. It's more so just an update in regards to work that we're doing on trying to get a pilot dog run at the New Wave Pier, East River Esplanade area. Our office provided funding over the summer to parks through Parks Initiative funding to try and get that started off the ground. There's been a holdup internally within parks on getting the funds that we've allocated, but we're working on that, and we're hoping to have an update within the next week or so. But I just wanted to give an update to everybody on that.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Pat. Are there any questions from the board or from the public for Councilmember Powers' office? All right, seeing none. Thank you so much, Pat. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'll be around if you need me.
Thank you. And if you could add your contact to the chat, that'd be great. We'll move on to Madeline from Senator Krueger's office.
Hi, Community Board 6. I'm happy to answer any questions about our newsletter.
Fantastic. All right, so are there any questions for Senator Krueger's office from the board or from the public? All right, I see a hand in the public. Oh, no, that was someone trying to get promoted to panelist. Yeah, I think you're off the hook tonight, Madeline.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, thank you very much. We'll now move on to Alex from Assemblymember Quart's office.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. I don't have anything to add, but I'm happy to take any questions and drop my contact info.
Thank you. I see a hand from Jim. Jim, go ahead.
Hi, just with respect to the electeds and their representatives that are here, I'm just wondering if any of you have taken positions with respect to the pricing of the fare zone that will be below 60th Street, and whether or not you have issued comments with respect to it. I haven't had a chance to go through all your newsletters yet. This is the MTA pricing at $9 or $23. That's going to be a substantial cost, basically a consumption tax on all of us who live below that dividing line, the 60th Street dividing line. I imagine it will be several hundred, if not several $1,000s of additional costs on everything that is brought into our district, and it's totally unavoidable for anybody in Manhattan. It's unlike, say, people who live on Staten Island. It's to my mind, it's a tax. It's a consumption tax, essentially. And I'm wondering if any of you have made any positions on it, issued any correspondence on it, etc. That would go for any of the elected officials who are currently present or their representatives.
I will say.
Oh, sorry, because I'm still
Keep it
here.
Oh, no,
organized.
please go ahead.
Member
Oh my
first.
God, I'm gonna let you
Councilmember.
go. Sorry. Okay, I'll be fast because then I'm gonna jump by Rackus here. I just want to say, when this plan was passed in Albany, and you'll hear from a representative there. Clearly there are some details included in the bill, but there are certainly some issues that are still being discussed. There are hearings where people have submitted. I mean, there's been hundreds of people that have submitted testimony. I know myself, Councilmember Powers, and Councilmember Eric Batra, all of whom represent south of sort of that. Yeah.
60th Street, right.
Absolutely. Everyone who represents south of 60th Street, so 59th Street and south. We're really looking at how we can submit testimony that is complementary, right, and collaborative, and that takes into account the things that you've mentioned. I certainly don't want anyone to think that because we live downtown, we're being taxed unfairly. I also know that this is hopefully a plan to generate revenue for the MTA, which we desperately have to invest in. So as soon as we have something like that ready, I'll make sure that the board gets it. And just know that we have been paying attention to the hearings, taking into account the testimony. And we're certainly working with our elected colleagues in Albany to ensure that when the devil is in those details, people fully understand how they're going to be affected and how we can ensure that no one feels unduly burdened. So thanks.
Very
Jim.
well. Thank you.
And Alex, I know you were going to jump in.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the assembly member obviously was supportive of the legislation in Albany. I'm not, 100% sure if he has dived too deep into the details or if his position has really changed. I know that, he initially didn't really support any exceptions in order to generate money for, the MTA, as well as for environmental reasons to reduce congestion. But that's certainly something I can check in with him and follow up on with you, Jim.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I see a hand. Susan.
Councilmember Rivera, I'm going to send you a copy of the letter that my wife and I sent as comments. I'll put it in the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Madeline, do you want to say something on this before we move on?
Hi, yeah. So Senator Krueger did submit testimony on congestion pricing and in general is supportive of the concept. But is also critical of some of the details. So I'm going to just copy and paste the link into the chat right now. But in general, she has been very vocal about wanting to make sure that there are exemptions for low income folks as well as the disability community. So I'm going to share the details that I have from our testimony. And if people have specific questions, feel free to reach out.
Appreciate it. I see Susan has a question. You're on mute, Susan.
I just want to make sure everybody knows that public testimony deadline has been extended to September the 23rd. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. All right, so are there any further questions for Assembly Member Court's office?
I just wanted to ask really quick, Jim, if you could send me the testimony that you and your wife drafted, that would be very helpful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to Senator Hoylman. Senator, thank you so much
Hey,
for today.
yeah, good to be here. I'm just interestingly here on Canal Street. I don't know if you can see, you probably can't, but it's chock-a-block traffic congestion here. And that's really, it's interesting, Jim, that don't know if you saw the Times story the other day, you know, other boroughs are saying, wait a minute, Manhattan's getting a congestion zone. Maybe we want one too. What are the upsides to reducing particulate matter as well as traffic and making our streets safer? That's why I supported congestion pricing. You'll see in my board report that Sam Vasquez, my colleague, and I put together that I have a link to my testimony that I proposed to the Traffic Mobility Commission with Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal. We were focused on those lower income constituents. We have a carve out in the legislation, something I fought for people who are low income, but right now it's a tax credit for people who make less than $60,000 a year. That seems very impractical that someone's actually going to get, you know, many people who are of the lowest income don't even file taxes in many instances. How they're going to get a tax credit is kind of beyond us. Plus, that also means they're going to have to put money up front. So we need to figure out how that works, as well as consider things like cost of living index and inflation, which isn't present in the statute. The other thing I want to make clear is that, you know, we feel strongly that no one who's in the zone should be punished for living where they live. And in London, when congestion pricing was instituted, they had a scheme where there were exemptions for residents that were gradually phased out over a decade plus. I hope that the Mobility Commission considers that kind of approach. Finally, we need to look at residential parking because those of us who live above 60th Street are concerned, and I think rightly, that people may just drop their cars off, take up parking spaces on the perimeter of the zone, as we've seen in other municipalities that have had some form of congestion pricing. So residential parking needs to be on the table. But thank you very much for that question. Again, look for my testimony. The other things I just mentioned very quickly, since I have the opportunity, is a couple of bills that I've introduced. One on making it mandatory for all those safety features that some high-end automobiles have now around speeding, around ensuring that they're efficient in use of fuels, that those are standard in cars that are sold in New York. And then finally, just wanted to say that we have available our parent and family resource guide. You can get a copy if you call me in my office. And we've also introduced legislation to end corporal punishment in schools. Believe it or not, some private schools, again, there's some reporting around the fact that corporal punishment is utilized in some private schools. That's not technically illegal in the state of New York. In private or independent schools, we should definitely put that in the statute. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Senator. We actually have a couple questions for you. So we'll start off with Mike. Mike, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Senator. I have just a question about the congestion pricing and the funds. And, you know, I know it's going towards the MTA. Has there been any talks about maybe this going towards education or something like public safety instead of the MTA, where so many people are pointing fingers for mismanagement? Has there been talks about the funds being put somewhere else?
No, the statute puts it into an MTA lockbox. We did not consider other, you know, funds as a recipient for congestion pricing. It's certainly something we can consider down the road. Nothing is set in stone. Even with this Traffic Mobility Commission, the legislature, in conjunction with the governor, can override basically anything that they put forward.
All right.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. We also have Anne. Anne, go ahead.
So I am actually, even though I own a car and live in, you know, the congestion zone, I am a big supporter of this. I think it will improve public transit, which I use more than my car. I think it will improve traffic. Especially if there are there's equity among the bridges and tunnels, so that and I think something else that is really important is that there is some time sensitivity to this, so that it does not cost the same to drive into the city at 10 a.m. as it does to drive in at 6 a.m. or at 8 p.m. So I think there's a lot of nuance, and I think there's also a lot of opportunity for nuance in the way that people live in the district get a break on it. I figure I'm going to get a break because I'm going to have less traffic. So there's already a benefit to me. And I will have cleaner air to breathe because of that. But I think there's also ways to do it to say, okay,
And
if
just
you-
before we move on, is there a question? Because I don't want to sort of circumvent the transportation committee. If you want to discuss this issue at length, we can do it at transportation. I wanna make sure-
I will say to all the electeds here, I have sent the testimony, my testimony about this, and it does have some ideas for some more nuanced solutions. The other thing I will say is I did read, and Jim, I sent it to you as well, sent testimony to you as well. I would just ask, I read all the electeds reports every month before the meeting, and it would be super helpful if you guys could just have in there, as some of you do, just a quick contact info. Brad, you totally, you have everything in there. Not everyone does, but if you could just have in your monthly newsletter, hey, you want to respond to this, here's the quickest way to do it. So that's for everybody.
Appreciate it.
Those are great points, Ann. Just let me say, I totally agree with you on the variable pricing. That should be possible with the technology we have. I don't, and I hope we don't see residents having to pay a congestion fee for driving within the zone. But if they leave the zone, I also think they shouldn't pay a fee depending on the hour, because that's decongestion. And that's what we're seeking here, is decongestion. So there's also a way, I think, Ann, for residents who leave to time their return back into the zone where they have to pay little or nothing. So those are all really great points. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to Aisha. And just for the record, if there's anyone else who has comments or questions about congestion pricing, please contact the elected directly or go to the transportation committee, because I don't want to jump into committee business during the elected section. So Aisha, go ahead.
The money that's coming, the funds, is where where for transportation, public transportation, is that going? Safety, sanitation, where are the funds going?
It's going for
for what?
The MTA capital plan. But you're right to point out that we need to, use our authority in reviewing and having hearings on the MTA capital plans. We shouldn't just be forking over the money to allow the MTA to do with it what they wish. But that's part of our oversight responsibilities.
Thank you. And then we have Gabe. Gabe, go ahead.
Any chance to do congestion pricing by actual weight for personal vehicles? I know a major frustration of my neighbors is, giant Suburbans and Escalades from out of town, out of state, on our sidewalks and our crosswalks, etc.
Well, that's a great question. I did introduce a bill around vehicle safety technology that is we're going to require safety standards for these supersized SUVs to ensure direct visibility. Again, some of that is standard in more luxury SUVs, but not in the ones that are, mostly purchased. But the weight of vehicles is certainly something that I think the commission is going to consider. Again, though, I think there is concern around social equity and forcing large trucks into other boroughs, namely the Bronx. So that is a very interesting and sensitive topic that needs to be reviewed very thoroughly. But we don't have an answer on weight yet.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator. Appreciate it. And I'm going to move on with the rest of our agenda because we do have other electeds on the call.
Right. Just
Jim,
real quick, I just wanted to tell you.
Jim, I didn't recognize you. We're going to move on. Please reach out to the senator's office.
Yeah, Jim, you can call me, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Senator.
Okay,
we'll
thank you.
move on to Assembly Member Epstein. Assembly Member Epstein.
Yeah, I won't talk much about congestion pricing because there's a lot of other things, but if you want to talk to me offline, please do. You can see my testimony or the bill that Brad and I have introduced around changing the AMI, knowing that, it's, there's a lot of issues related to the AMI for the congestion pricing waiver. I just want to let people know, the non-CB6, but just south of CB6 has been an issue of these houses and the water supply. We've got some information from the city on Friday that we thought those were just false positive readings. But the residents there have some real concerns. So we're going to do some follow-up support. And if we find anything, obviously, that, just south of 14th Street, and, could have impact on the rest of the community. And we'll keep people abreast of what's happening because it's all of our water supply. So next, if we have time, tomorrow we're the governor signing a package of bills around loan forgiveness. So people who are eligible for federal loan forgiveness right now in New York State, it's unclear, what the process is to apply. 90% of people who applied when found ineligible. The president has extended the deadline to apply retroactively. That's until March 31st. The governor is going to be signing the bill tomorrow, which sets the standard for full-timers, which is 30 hours, and allows people who are in teaching professions to count 3 hours of teaching time, 1 hour teaching time for 3 hours of work to get to a full-time schedule. So I'm excited that that's happening tomorrow. And if people are in government jobs, as a lot of people are who still have student loans and weren't eligible before, you can consider about getting and applying for that loan forgiveness. A lot of stuff's in our report that people should read. But the one thing that people saw probably is the governor's executive order on the state of emergency related to COVID expired, which is going to impact future meetings and events. So I just wanted people to be abreast about that. Obviously, there's a new executive order on monkeypox, but it's going to be very different import than the executive order we'll have on the community board as well as other community meetings. Like we're back in person. We had a hearing in Albany yesterday, and all the members had to show up in person. So that's gonna, we're gonna be going down that path. So I just want people to be ready and organized and prepared as we move forward. And I'm happy to take questions on anything but congestion pricing, because I don't want Kyle to get. And people can reach out to me offline about that if they want.
Appreciate it, Assembly Member. Are there any questions for the Assembly Member from the board or from the public? Anne, go ahead.
Yeah, just kind of a quick question. I was really curious. I was interested in your comments about the student Metro cards, and we can take this offline. But I'm wondering about the MTA, who's pushing everybody to go onto Omni, and obviously, like, not all students have smartphones. But it seems like there's some disconnect there. So again, we can take this offline, but and it may be for a committee business, but I was struck by that.
Well, I love CB6 to support our student Metro card bills and campaigns. We got CEC 1, 2, 3, and 4 to support it in resolutions. We'd love to have CB6. Basically, it says that students need longer hours on their Metro cards. For anyone who who grew up in New York City and went to a school and then had an event like a track meet or a basketball game or a concert, they all went past 8:30 at night. The Metro cards expired.
Detention.
So weekend activities, you can't get Metro cards. It's really hard. So we want evening and weekend hours. We want to also take away the fines and the penalties related to those cards. So we introduced those bills with Senator Lieu, and we're looking forward to trying to get the DOE to agree to extend the hours, knowing that the reality of our young people, I know through my kids, are always out and about, internships, programs, events. We have our kids busy, and we want them to be busy because we want them to get to a good college. But then people, we're disadvantaging our lower income students because they can't get a Metro card, or they end up jumping the turnstile and then get police involved. So really important. And if we move to Omni, we're going to have to grapple with that. I've had conversations with them, and we're talking about 2024 migrating students to Omni. And we're going to have to deal with the smartphone issue for all our young people. The DOE is going to have to come up with solutions for young people who don't have smartphones, because they're going to have to give out the app, and they're going to have to figure this out. And the DOE knows it. We've talked to the chancellor about it, as well as the MTA. So it's an issue we're going to have to grapple with. But the real issue now is getting extended hours to support all our young people with their Metro cards. The last thing I'll say is there's a lot of new New Yorkers coming in. We've gotten 10,000 people on buses coming to New York. And I know we're doing, in our office, we're collecting clothing and supplies for migrants who are coming from Texas. So if people have stuff, they can drop off our office, and our Senator Hoylman's doing the same thing. But we're really, it's, people coming to New York on a bus with, the clothes on their back. They don't, kids need to, 1,400 kids started school this week in New York with no supplies, no backpack, no nothing, So we're doing school supplies next week. We're collecting clothes. So if people want to bring those to our office, Joanna's here, and she can talk to anybody offline about the details. We're going to continue to get, Governor Abbott's going to continue to send people to New York from Texas. We're going to continue to get, we've got 10,000 is going to continue to grow. And the reality is we need to do something to help people as they get here. We have a problem, and we don't have a good solution, but we are having people coming on buses every day to New York.
All right, but thank you very much, Assembly Member. Are there any further questions for the Assembly Member from the board or from the public? All right.
Well, everyone, thank you very much. And if I don't see you, as someone who's the Jewish faith, I want to wish everyone who's Jewish a Happy New Year. And I will speak to everyone next month, and for others next year. Take care.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to Eric from District Attorney Bragg's office.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Just wanted to quickly walk you through one key highlight from my report, and then two other things that are open to the public. Unfortunately, I submitted my report today. I was out of the office, so apologies again for that. But again, just wanted to go through three quick things with you all, just pulling them up. So the first thing is that DA Bragg recently announced 10 community-based organizations that were selected to receive $20,000 from our office for initiatives to prevent youth gun violence. So these initiatives range from paying individuals stipends either to participate in meaningful programming or to enhance and beautify public spaces that are known locations for gun violence. We have a full press release for our office that I can link in the chat if that's okay with Kyle, and I can also link our full newsletter into the chat as well. Secondly, Manhattan DA Bragg has been hosting a series of conversations with experts, advocates, and other partner agencies about a variety of important topics. And next week, we actually have one coming up that will focus on things that our office and community-based partners are doing to combat hate crimes and hate-based discrimination. The webinar will be held on Wednesday, September 21st from 1 to 2 p.m. And again, I can send the link to the for registering as well. Last thing I wanted to mention, just really quick, is in anticipation of Domestic Violence Awareness Month coming up in October, I just wanted to highlight the work of our great education team. They've been working hard to bring presentations about domestic violence, both adult and teen dating abuse, to the public in different community groups and community-based organizations. So if it's something that you all at CB6 would be interested in, be happy to set something up. Or if you know of another community group who would be interested, please let me know. It basically engages participants in a discussion about domestic violence, teen dating violence, how to identify signs of both, and just generally what to look for and how to manage those things. You'll also learn about our office's role in holding people accountable for that kind of conduct. So if anyone wants to, happy to ask any questions, but if anyone feels more comfortable reaching out to me offline too, I can put my contact information in the chat. And that's all I have. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Eric. We actually have a question from the public.
Sure.
Deborah, are you there? Deborah, I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to have my hand raised.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Deborah. All right, so are there any other questions for the district attorney's office? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Eric, and hopefully people will connect with you offline.
Great. Thanks again, everyone.
Brian, do we have the borough president here yet, or will he be joining us later?
I believe he'll be joining in just a bit.
Okay, no problem. Just let me know and we'll call him up. Jesus, can you move on to the public session?
Yes, we can. All right, so tonight we have a few speakers. The first speaker is Heather Dewey Hadborg, who is a resident of Manhattan Community District 6 and wishes to speak on the issue of car traffic violations in the neighborhood and to recommend the installation of red light cameras. Ms. Dewey Hadborg, you have the floor for 3 minutes. You may begin your remarks now.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I live on First Avenue between East 37th and East 38th Street, and I'd like to make the case for adding additional red light cameras to our community, in particular on the streets feeding into and out of the Midtown Tunnel. Every day I fight to cross the street around my apartment building, waiting between cars blocking the intersection, or waiting to cross after I get the walk signal because cars are still driving across, blatantly violating the red lights. And this poses a danger to pedestrians of all ages, but in particular to children, to young adults, and to people with disabilities. Near the entrance and exits from the Midtown Tunnel, this is a constant problem at all hours of the day and night. And this is a problem easily addressed and significantly mitigated with the addition of red light cameras. While the camera program was established in 1988 in New York City with a test run of 150 cameras, that number has hardly increased since then. There are only around 200 in the whole city and only 15 in Manhattan, the least of any borough. Yet, as we all know, traffic in Manhattan is out of hand, in particular since COVID. In other major international cities, safety cameras like these are standard and have a proven record of reducing traffic accidents, reducing pedestrian injuries and death, in addition to making traffic less congested. If you read the city's own report on their red light camera program review, red light running violations at intersections with cameras declined 84%, and crashes went down 71 to 41% as well. I know that this is on the mayor's agenda, and I just want to put in a bid for our neighborhood to push for it. I know it's politically difficult, it's complicated with the state, but to use whatever influence we have to expand the red light cameras around our community, around New York City, but in particular into and out of the bridges and tunnels that are so congested. And in the meantime, this is an issue that can also be addressed with adequate traffic enforcement, something that is seemingly always missing whenever I'm crossing the street anyway. So thank you for your attention and for all your hard work.
Thank you for those remarks. Next on the list is Peter Santo, who is a resident of Manhattan Community Board 6 and wishes to speak on public safety concerns in the Turtle Bay neighborhood. Mr. Santo, you may begin your remarks now.
Thank you. And good evening. I am a resident of the Turtle Bay area, as just mentioned, in Manhattan for the last 4 years, and this is my first time addressing concerns to the board. After the past few years, the buildings located on the south corner of East 50th Street and 2nd Avenue, specifically 936 2nd Avenue, have been in downward spiral of decay and having public safety concerns. The building itself is now surrounded by scaffolding, and the buildings that used to be storefronts are now boarded up. The building itself is surrounded by, it has become a safe haven for homeless, tens of delivery people that work in various services such as Grubhub, Seamless, Uber Eats, etc. And furthermore, the building itself seems to be unoccupied and covered in graffiti and broken windows. What I'd like to hear from the committee on is, one, are there plans or permits to have this building torn down? I know that there is paperwork in place for a new residential building. I just wanted to know if there was any effort in tearing down this building. If no plans for demolition, how can the board address the safety hazard and, lack of a better term, unsavory characters from consistently congregating at this location? And thirdly, can we organize a cleanup of the area and the building, even though it is private property? I'm proposing a certain action. One, boarding up the area if it's not being torn down, around the exterior to the sidewalk to eliminate people from gathering underneath the scaffolding. I'd like to know how can we address the dilapidated building itself as an unsafe structure and present the owner present this to the owner to secure it safely. And what can the community do to clean up the area on 50th and 2nd down to 49th Street due to the loss of all the businesses? I appreciate your time and look forward to any kind of comments.
With the permission of the chair, would the speaker re-identify the building in question?
Yeah, Peter, could you restate the building that you're referring to?
Absolutely. It's on the corner of south corner of East 50th and 2nd Avenue, and the building address, I believe, is 936 2nd Avenue.
Great. Thank you. Did you get that,
Thank
Luke?
you.
All right, fantastic. And Brendan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a note that the board office is aware of the location that Mr. Santo is talking about. We have gotten some quality of life complaints about that area and have been in regular communication with the Department of Homeless Services, the Department of Sanitation, as well as the 17th Precinct about this. Obviously, there are still quality of life issues there. So, but I just want to make it known that the board office is aware of quality of life concerns over there.
Thank you, Brendan.
We also do have a copy of Mr. Santo's testimony, a written copy, so if any board member or committee wishes to have that, we can certainly pass it along. Thank you, Mr. Santo, for your remarks. Next on the list is Perry Corrine. Please correct me if I mispronounced that. Who is a resident of Manhattan Community District 6 and wishes to speak on the homeless shelter at the Marcel Hotel in this district. Perry Corrine, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Hi, yeah, so my name is Perry. I live in the Gramercy area across from the Hotel Marcel, which has recently become a homeless shelter. Again, I know this was something that happened about 1.5 years ago. So the area since this has taken into effect has definitely become a little bit more dangerous outside. There's a lot of police activity. Actually, about a half an hour ago, there was police. I think maybe every 3 days I see police, constantly kids yelling outside, people drinking outside. Being as I'm a social worker, I work with the Medicaid population. I'm very aware of this and trying, and my whole job is helping every day with things like this. But working from home and being on a lower floor, it's kind of affecting me daily. And safety concerns. Definitely, I come home at night from dinner. There's men outside drinking with little kids in strollers, sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning, see them outside, and having police come in the middle of the night, waking me up with the lights is starting to become a concern. I was just hoping if anyone had any other feedback or know this is temporary or what they're doing. Even the security, I see they put security outside, but they keep telling them, because I can see out my window, to come to my side where my building is. So they're all just sitting outside for a big portion of the day. It's starting to become a little bit of a concern. So I don't know if anyone else is experiencing similar in the area.
Mr. Chair, may I respond?
Sure. I think Jesus is trying to say something, but
okay, got it.
I was going to say thank you for those concerns. It does look like the chair of the Housing and Homelessness Committee of CB6 requests the floor.
Yeah, Rich, if you can keep it brief, that'd be great.
Yeah, just for a minute. I also live across the street from the building. I live in 330 3rd Avenue. I assume you live in the building catty corner to me. And the committee is aware of what's going on because I look directly out at it, as well as you. You are more affected than I am because you're directly across the small street rather than the big street. But we are going to be talking about this on Monday the 19th at the Housing Committee meeting. If you would like to put your email address in the chat, I can also follow up with you directly with some more information that we have.
Okay, I signed up for that as well, so I appreciate that.
Oh, great.
All right. Thank you very much, Terry. Appreciate it.
All right. And next on the list, we have Charles Stavitsky, who is a resident of this district and wishes to speak also on the topic of the homeless shelter of the Marcel. Mr. Stavitsky, you have the floor for 3 minutes. You may begin your remarks now.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Similar to Perry Corrine's remarks, I'm a shareholder in the Crystal House Cooperative and also a board member of the Crystal House. I've lived there since 2014, and that's located at 200 East 24th Street in Manhattan. I wish to speak about the horrible conditions that have persisted since the Marcel Hotel, which is located on 24th and 3rd, was turned into a shelter in July. The organization that runs the shelter is the Acacia Network, according to information that I received. Acacia has done nothing to enforce rules and regulations on the people in the shelter. The past months have been chock full of loitering, littering, open container alcohol drinking, drug use, and occasionally violent incidents. The security that is in place now does nothing to help. The police have been called and arrests have been made when things have grown out of control. Numerous 311 complaints have been filed. Local politicians, some of who are on this committee meeting, have been contacted. Unfortunately, none of that has done anything to improve the situation. Residents are not asking for much. We would like Acacia and the Marcel to enforce a curfew and put competent security in place to help prevent the activities that I described earlier. Anything would help at this point, since the quality of life in the neighborhood has gone down significantly. Can Community Board 6 do anything to help us? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. And again, I'd also ask you to register for the committee meeting on the 19th as well. And,
There's a link to that meeting in the chat.
Yes, thank you, Brendan.
And in the meantime, we will relay these concerns from Ms. Corrine and Mr. Stavitsky to the Department of Homeless Services on your behalf.
Thank you.
And
hold on. I just want to recognize Jim very quickly. Jim, do you have a question or response to them?
A comment, Mr. Stavitsky and the other commentator, I would suggest that you also attend the board meeting when we go through our budget, because those are issues that we can address at the budget level one of the things that we've done consistently on this board is request more of this kind of service within our community district. And somewhat, I think, to the detriment of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. First of all, can everyone hear me okay? I think
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit though.
all right.
Yeah, Jesus, you're cutting in and out. Like maybe just stick a little closer to the mic if you can do that.
Is this any better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So final speaker on the list is Chris Brio, who is a resident of this district and wishes to speak to the board about the issue of homelessness. All right, Chris Lorio, you have the floor for 3 minutes. You may begin your remarks now.
Sure. So, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm a resident of 24th Street between 2nd and 3rd. I would echo the comments of the two other residents as well. I'm a little bit further down the street. There's just a lot of loitering, a lot of garbage. We've had the delight of talking to a lot of the individuals who are staying there, in fact, and we wish them all this opportunity for a new beginning. And I think most of them are really great people. But as the other individuals talked about, there's some who are out late drinking and arguing and things of this sort. And there's not a lot of respect for property and things like that. So I think the real fundamental issue is one of the gentlemen said that we're on the smaller street. So when people are congregating on the sidewalk, there's in fact nowhere to go around them, and you have to go into the street, and there's cars coming in and out of these garages, and someone's going to get hurt. You have bikers delivering things on the sidewalks. You have women with carriages, multiple carriages, little kids running around. Inevitably, something will happen. And so, whatever you all do with this, you need to figure out a way to probably get people out of the neighborhood to parks or whatever it is, a shuttle. I don't know, but congregating in the neighborhood is not an ideal situation for everyone. And I just wanted to echo those comments and follow that in, and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. All right, Jesus, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
No, that was all. Thank you very much. I didn't want to take any more time. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Sorry about that. I thought, I think after 2.5 years, I'd learned to unmute. That concludes our speakers list for tonight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Jesus. We'll now move on to the adoption of the previous meeting's full board minutes. The minutes from the June 8th and August 10th full board meetings were distributed to board members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes from both meetings. Board members, if you object to adopting either set of minutes, please raise your hand through Zoom and indicate which set of minutes you object to. All right, seeing no objections, the minutes from the June 8th and August 10th full board meetings are adopted and will soon be available on the CB6 website. So I'll now deliver the chair's report. So first, I just want to welcome everyone back after our summer hiatus. I know it's been a very busy summer, so I'm going to keep my remarks fairly short. So the first thing that I want to inform the board about is Governor Hochul's emergency orders, which did expire on Monday. But Mayor Adams had a set of orders that will continue until September 23rd. So there is some confusion as to the purposes of the expiration, as it seems to be related more to the state's abilities to purchase goods and services, and open meetings law, surprise, surprise, seems to have been either overlooked or not considered in this decision. So I have reached out to the governor's office and am awaiting the response, and I'll make sure that you're all updated on that. But what this means for each of you, it means that a quorum is possibly needed in person for our October meeting. I've already asked the board office to search for a large enough space to house our board. But what it means is that you should definitely be paying very close attention to the CV6 calendar, as well as to your emails, because we're going to be updating that with the most up-to-date information as we receive it. So we'll be sure to, of course, email you about any changes or any requirements that are upcoming. So please make sure that you're opening your emails, reading the newsletters, and also checking the CV6 website. Second point, I want to talk about the redistricting. So first of all, thank you to everybody who made it to our emergency meeting last month. Passing the resolution allowed me to speak on behalf of our board and our communities at the Districting Commission's hearing on August 22nd. It went very well. There's a lot of support for our resolution, but I want to give a big shout out to the advocacy and energy of the communities. This really was spearheaded by our residents, by our communities, and so really want to thank them for their work on this, and so happy that the community board was able to complement their work and amplify it. And I really think this was a true testament to our philosophy of grassroots leadership. So very exciting that we were able to do that together, and we'll get more information about that through the rest of this month. Third, the executive committee meeting. We met throughout the summer. We focused on planning for the year ahead. I asked every chair to review their agendas from the past year to inform their agendas for the year ahead. So as these work plans come in, committee chairs will meet with the executive leadership team to refine vision and scope. And I want to use that as a reminder to everybody on this board. You're all welcome to attend executive committee meetings. This is where upcoming agendas are discussed for each meeting. So specific topics and committee vision and scope. This is where that takes place. So please come there. Even if you're not on a specific committee, you're more than welcome to have some input. And these, of course, take place the Wednesday after full board. And then last but not least, I want to welcome our new members. So we were introduced to our 10 new members back in June, but now they've all been assigned to their committees and have begun their work on each of these committees. So actually, I would really like if each of you could just quickly reintroduce yourselves. I'll just call you out in random order. And if you could just share your name, your preferred pronouns, and the committees that you're serving on, that would be great. So we'll start off with Nad. Nad, are you here?
Yep. Thanks, Kyle. I'm Nad Talani. For pronouns are he, him. I live in sort of like the northern part of CB6. And then I'm on the Housing and Homelessness committees and on the Budget Committee.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nad. Welcome. We'll move on to Matt. Is Matt here?
This one?
Yep, Matt Weintraub.
Cool. Matt Weintraub. Lived in CB6 for almost a decade. I live in Kips Bay. I'm a public school teacher. I've been teaching in this district for almost 10 years, and I'm on the Housing and Homeless Committee and the Youth and Education Committee. Very excited to get to work.
Can you say what school you teach at?
I got to leave some things up to mystery, Rich. So to be found out later.
All right.
Thank you. We'll move on to Aisha.
I'm Aisha, she, her, and I'm on Health and Human Services and Youth and Education.
Thank you, Aisha. Gabe? Might be on mute, Gabe.
I'm Gabe Terzo. I live on 26th and 3rd. Manage the Trader Joe's at 59th and 1st. I'm on Health and Human Services and Transportation.
Welcome. Next up, John.
Hey, everyone. Good to see everyone. I'm John DeRico. I live in Stuytown, Peter Cooper Village. I'm a lawyer, and I'm on the Public Safety and Youth and Education Committees.
Thank you very much. Jason without the Y.
Out the Y. Hey, Jason, excited to be here. The pronouns are he, him, and I'm on the Transportation and Health and Human Services committee.
Thank you. Jason with a Y.
Hey there, I'm Jason with the Y. My pronouns are he, him, his. I live on the southern end of Stuytown at 14th Street and Avenue A. And the two committees that I am on are the Budget and Governmental Affairs Committee, as well as the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee.
Thank you, Jason. Majed.
Hi, everybody. My name is Majed Abdul Samad. I am pronouns he, him. I live in Tudor City, and I am an architect, urban designer. So naturally, I am on the Transportation Committee and the Waterfront and Land Use Committee. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. And last but not least, Sadie.
I'm Sadie. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm on the Health and Human Services and Public Safety Committees.
All right, thank you, Sadie. And we have one more member named Hannah who couldn't make it tonight. But everybody, please welcome them, especially when you see them in your committee. We're very excited to have this new energy on our board and look forward to the amazing contributions that each of them will bring to the board. And I'll conclude my report with that. Thank you. And we'll now move on to Jesus.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, have these people been sworn yet, or do we have plans to swear them?
So we're figuring that out in terms of a formal ceremony. Obviously, things have been affected by being virtual, but yeah, thank you. That is definitely in my mind. Jesus, go ahead.
All right, thank you. I have a quick report. There was a change made to the website over the summer that I want to share with you all very quickly. As you all know, this is our website. Hopefully you go to it very frequently. And
no, I heard every other word of that, please.
oh, I am so sorry. Is this
No worries.
Is this
Yeah.
all right? Okay. I'll start again. I'm sharing my screen. You have our website, and you obviously have been hopefully visiting it very frequently. And you see that we have a lot of information here for the board members and for the public. We work very hard to keep it updated. We worked very hard to create it, and we hope that it is a real resource for all the members and the public and residents of this district. We added this quick links section to the homepage of the board because there were some resources that were actually very frequently consulted, or would be if people could find them. We knew where they were, but they were a little bit hidden away. So we wanted to make them a bit more obvious. So now we have some of the more popular things that people come to the website for, very easily located, either right under our hero image on the homepage or right above in the drop-down menus above. So now, hopefully everything that you need is right at your fingertips, right when you go to the website, no more digging around for things. And unless there are any questions on that, that concludes my report.
All right, seeing no questions, thank you very much, Jesus. We'll move on. Brian, do you want to give a quick report? I don't know if the borough president will be able to make it tonight. I know he's very busy. Do you have anything that you want to share with the board?
Hi, Kyle. Thank you. The borough president unfortunately won't be able to join us. However, I'm happy to take any questions regarding the report or any other concerns that anyone has.
All right, thank you, Brian. I see a question from Stu. Stu, go ahead.
In the report this month, the office talks about creating safe and legal space for riders of electric bikes and other forms of micromobility. Do you have a broad, or is there any kind of planning for how we can integrate micromobility into the city? It seems like a challenge we're avoiding, but about which we should really be planning for.
Yes, I know that my colleagues are working on that, and I'm happy to connect with you and follow up with you offline on that.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't have more specifics to share right now, though.
Thank you very much, Brian. I'm seeing no further questions, so we'll move on to committee reports and resolutions. So we've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions, and a reminder to everybody that the same rules stated at the beginning of the meeting apply. And to the members of the public, please note that during this section of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. So the CB6 staff will post a link to the digital ballot in the chat. Please click on the link to open the ballot, select your name from the drop-down list, and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented. Do not hit submit until later in the evening after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, please submit after you've indicated all of your votes on your ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. And if you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. And if any part of our voting procedure is unclear or you're having any issues, please raise your hand through Zoom and we'll be able to address your question or concern. All right, so we'll get started with transportation. Brian?
Good evening, everyone. We have, I want to say, a or two resolutions for you tonight. Let me bring my mic closer because that was a problem last night. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Our first resolution to present from the committee, which you just had the meeting last night, so bear with us. A resolution with no objection to a new bus stop for Coach Express MA Inc. at First Avenue from East 38th Street to East 39th Street, east side of the street, opposite 675 First Avenue. This is an operator not to be confused with the company Coach USA, which you may have seen their buses around. This is a smaller but reliable operator, supposedly, that is applying for a bus stop on the edge of the Solo site. There isn't much of the way in facilities there, and that was discussed at committee. Nevertheless, the committee ratified this unanimously. I will take any questions. Larry?
Thank you, Brian. I move to strike the words "an existing bus stop for Topview Bus" from the third whereas clause. There was some confusion at the meeting last night regarding whether their buses actually use this bus stop. So I took it upon myself to call their customer service representative this afternoon, and they confirmed to me on the telephone that none of their buses stop there anymore. So I think this would clean up the resolution.
Does anyone want to second this?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. I spoke with Larry about this.
Brian, just
early.
Who seconded that, just for our record?
Anton.
Anton. All right, thank you.
I'll call on Jason. Did you want to speak or no?
Yeah, just quickly, I go by that area fairly often. There's definitely some double-decker tourist bus that does utilize that stop regularly. I don't know if it's Topview.
Yeah, Larry talked to Topview earlier today, and they're no longer doing service at that stop. It might be Gray Line or one of the other tour companies that's using it. As we'll see in the next resolution, sometimes the information we get out of DOT on these things is not 100% what we were looking for in the context what we're looking for. But in general, we know that Topview doesn't use it, and we know that Bolt Bus was using it and is no longer operating. Jim?
Brian, I just wanted to bring to your attention, the controller did an audit and of the EDC, which involved the New York City ferry service. And as a consequence of that, they've boosted the ferry charge ride for from whatever it was the equivalent of Subway, $2.75, whatever it is now, up to $4 a piece. We have a number of people in our community board that use it. If you look at the audit, you'll see that it was objected to, declined basically by the EDC, and also that
Jim,
the
what
controller
does this
violated.
is this relevant to the
I
resolution?
don't. Well, I presume it's true. No, not with respect to the resolution. I thought you were
Okay,
talking about
Matthew, you have the floor.
General questions.
I was curious just who the company typically serves and where it operates.
In the resolution, they are saying 2 daily pickups, traveling to New London, Connecticut and Quincy, Massachusetts. And let's just say it's a low income or, budget audience. Usually a lot of 20-somethings and college students going between those locations. Any other questions about 1A?
All right, seeing no further questions, are there any motions?
Larry?
Larry, you're muted.
All right, Anne?
There's a
Call
motion
question.
outstanding.
We were
I
debating.
move to,
We were debating to
amend-
strike that language.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I will second Larry's motion. to
That was
change that
seconded.
Language.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry,
we're
and then
good.
I will
We had
call-
Anton and Jim second it.
I'm
So
sorry, that's what. well, I
do we
thought that's
need a
what you were
vote?
looking
I'm
for.
willing to change that language. It's immaterial to the point of the resolved clause. I'm willing to strike that language without a vote. If we need to have a vote on that, let me
So-
know, Jesus.
So does that mean I can call to question?
Well, we're going to
Yes.
ask Jesus first.
Motion is on the floor, a motion to amend. Larry, can you very clearly, let me share my screen, bringing up the resolution.
It's a friendly amendment. the
There
chair
is no,
says.
there is no such thing as a friendly amendment.
B is correct. All right, this is the resolution.
Go to the third whereas.
Line 21.
Line 21. What is the amendment?
The words "an existing bus stop for Top View Bus" should be deleted.
Go from the is to the and you can take that whole little clause out and just go, the proposed location was previously used by Bolt Bus.
That
Okay.
would work. That would work.
From the is to the and on line 21 will be removed from this whereas.
I am okay with that text being removed without a vote. If we need to vote on that, we can do a hands vote right now, I guess, Jesus.
We could see if there's unanimous consent. Everyone's hands come down. If there's
Yes.
anyone who opposes this, raise your hand and then that's your vote right there.
Okay, if anybody opposes it, raise your hand in the next 10 seconds. Ann and Larry, you can hands down.
All right. So if you object to the amendment, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, that motion passes to amend.
Do we have a motion to call the
So,
question? Larry?
Call the question.
Call to question.
B?
Seconded.
All right.
All right, question's been called. We're voting on 1A as amended.
Yes, so please mark your vote on your digital ballot for this resolution. This is 1A, and do not hit submit. And those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask your vote for verbally during the second roll call. So let's just take some time for that.
While you guys are voting, I will start the introduction for the next resolution. This one's a little bit of a doozy. Academy Express LLC, on behalf of NYU, their client, is asking us for a series of bus stop permits for just regular bus stops that are not, they're not intercity bus stops, but they're shuttle buses to go down to NYU on Broadway. So these would be quick pickups and drop-offs within a minute. One of the things is that these types of shuttle bus stops did not require special permission from DOT a few years ago. There's been a change in city law, and they now need to legitimize these shuttle bus stops with DOT approval and thus with our consent as well. They came to us. There's been one bus stop location that was erroneously marked in their application, has been removed consideration. There are 4 remaining. One is on 14th Street at Avenue A. One is approximately at Avenue C and 14th. What is the other? Third, one is at East 14th between Irving Place and 3rd Avenue. One is on the west side of the street on 3rd Avenue between East 24th Street and East 23rd Street. Right now, they are using those shuttle bus stops, but they do need special permission to get from DOT to get that legitimized. We had a contentious discussion about this. There was some reticence from the committee, although it ultimately did pass, because of the condition of the application and the confusion that ensued in it. We will be talking to the applicants again to try to get clarity on the one stop that was removed from that. Additionally, there was some debate at committee. I don't think that that debate is marked in the resolution, but that may be irrelevant in a second anyway. That there was some debate at the siting of the bus stop that they want on 14th Street and Avenue A. Additionally, I had some conversations today and found out that they are applying for the northwest corner of 14th and A, but they're currently stopping at the northeast corner of 14th and A, which did kind of change the tone of the conversation that we had last night, in which they were telling us that they were applying for stops that they were already using. So with all of that in mind, I see that Larry has his hand raised. Larry, you have the floor.
I move to refer back to the Transportation Committee consideration of the 445 East 14th Street bus stop, that's Avenue A, and to strike all references to it. Surprising and important new information came to my attention this morning that needs to be developed further, which is what Brian is referring to.
Larry, may I ask for your clarification? You wish to delete the language regarding the bus stop at Avenue A and 14th Street, noted as 445 East 14th Street, and you are asking to delete the mentions of that in the current resolution rather than referring the resolution to committee.
No, first I want to refer it to committee and then clean up the existing resolution and present it when the question is called.
So this would take the whole resolution back to committee, what you're asking for, a referral.
Yeah, so I just want to,
No.
Well, Larry, just
if I've put it, if I've, I'm saying I'd like to refer just this portion that I'm excising, or that we would be excising, back to committee.
You just want to excise the portion about 445 East 14th Street and all mentions of it.
And I also want
the committee will discuss it further if it's excised from this resolution for sure.
Okay, so I just want to clarify for everyone's clarity. If we are simply striking out something, it should be an amendment. If we are referring, we can't refer parts of a resolution back to committee. We either have to refer the whole thing back or amend it. So just for clarity, are we amending or are we referring back to committee? Because if we're referring back to committee, it removes it from our docket tonight and returns it back to your committee where you can edit it and amend it as appropriate.
I'm not looking to refer the entire resolution back to the committee, only seeking to amend the resolution to excise those references to the 445 East 14th Street proposed bus stop.
Okay. I see Beatrice, Michael, and Ann. I'll go with B first.
Yeah, so I actually was going to refer back to committee. I think there was new information that came out afterwards about the NYU stops. I don't believe that we could take part of one and send something back. So I'd like to put a motion to refer it back to committee.
I think the
I'm sorry,
first
point of
motion,
order?
the first motion has to be seconded. So do we have anybody who's going to second what Larry put
I will
forward?
second.
I withdraw it in favor of B's motion.
Okay.
Okay, so B, now you made a motion to refer the whole resolution back to committee. Do we have a
Yes.
second on that?
Second.
Okay, that's seconded by Susan. Let's do a hand vote for this so we don't have to go one by one. So everybody please put your hand down. The motion is to refer this back to committee. If you are in support of referring this back to committee, please raise your hand. And the board office will do a count.
All right. So the hands were up.
Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up if you don't take it down yet. Keep your hands up so the board can do a proper count.
Okay, we're counting right now. It looks like 28 hands are up for referring this back to committee, which is more than a majority. So it's referred. Back to
Okay.
committee.
Thank you very much, Jesus. Everyone can put their hands down. So 1B is now referred back to committee. So for your ballot, just add anything. You can add abstain or not entitled, and this won't be counted as a vote because it technically doesn't exist.
Brian, I have a quick question.
Yes, Michael.
I just want to clarify that after asking them multiple times if they were all existing stops, they weren't all existing stops, right? That's what you found out?
No, what we found out was that there was some confusion at the stops, and they're trying to legitimize and make the operation consistent. So one thing is that the drivers are approximately stopping at the right points on the route, but sometimes stopping on the weirder corners. One thing is that the corner that they're stopping at now at Avenue A was actually the other corner they were reassigned to during a construction period, and they just happen to be stopping there still soon. So there is some discussion that needs to happen, but 3 of the stops in this resolution, they're stopping in the right place, and the committee supported that they should continue to stop there. And that DOT said that those were appropriate places for those shuttle buses to stop. So it really doesn't matter at this point, though, because they said it originally that this was a kind of a factor of timeliness. So we rushed to consider this for tonight. And now we're finding out that some of the stops, they need to revise some of the submission criteria. And DOT is probably going to say that it's fine regardless. So I'm just going to talk to them and get that clarified and say it has to be, put down the way that it needs to be. The one thing is at the bus stop that we were just discussing with Larry actually has feedback that he believes that they should not stop at that corner and that they should stop at an intersection a block away, which is a different kind of debate matter. And we talked about that. You could see that at discussion in the meeting from last night on the video playback. Larry has his hand raised.
Yes,
After Larry, I'm going to do a chair's report.
Good, thank you.
Brian, the whole situation changed based upon my doing a field inspection this morning. That intersection, the way it's currently working with students boarding the bus at the northeast corner is great. It avoids all the problems that I had raised at the meeting last night. I think the question is moot. If only the Department of Transportation would resurrect that temporary bus stop they had during the L train construction as a permanent bus stop for the NYU shuttle, and put up a bus stop sign at that corner where they actually had a shelter for 4 years.
Okay. I mean, we'll discuss this again at committee when NYU comes back to us with the revised proposal. Phil, you have your hand up. Do you have any quick comments?
Yeah, real quick. For the committee, did anyone ask, is the shuttle available to members of the public, or do you have to be an NYU student to take one of these shuttles down to that campus?
We didn't ask them that. I would assume not, but we can ask that.
I believe it's
Leave that for another time.
I can answer that.
Let's refer it, since it's referred back to committee, let's just bring it back to committee at this point.
Yeah, I got some juicier things to tell you guys about.
But yes, but thank you for having that.
You need an NYU ID.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Brian, can you deliver the chair's report?
Yeah, chair's report. Other than what we are talking about at committee, and I strongly suggest that you join us to see what we got cooking, and there'll be some more announcements coming out, so look at the bulletins and whatnot. I wanted to touch on 2 topics. One is about e-mobility and mopeds and safety and whatnot. So mopeds in general are street legal. There are certain classes of two-wheeled vehicles that aren't street legal and they simply can't be registered. And we've seen a lot of publicity about NYPD being able to effectively round some of them up and put them in the crusher. I have concerns about whether or not we're sending the right message with all this kind of mobility stuff. But in general, one thing that is an alarming thing is that bike lanes are being used to host these vehicles, and faster devices that are actually street legal are also going in the bike lanes because of the new Class 3 devices in state law from 3 years ago. I think that this is worth the committee's attention, so we will be discussing this at some point this year. But I think we also kind of have a logjam with a lot of this stuff, including cargo vehicles and with, again, legitimized vehicles trying to find a safe solution out on the road. So we definitely want to talk about this in a sense that we want everybody to feel safe out there if they're riding legal devices, and we may need some solutions on that. DOT has been studying redesigns of some of the avenues around this kind of thing. Plus, there's some issues about access to the bridges that could be solved with DOT, so we will definitely discuss that. I also wanted to touch on congestion pricing because there's been a lot of questions given to us on this. So first of all, did want to clarify that right now there's an environmental assessment out that has a comment period open. The comments are just about the environmental assessment, and the comments go to the federal government about the environmental assessment that MTA submitted to them. If you have comments about the environmental assessment, I believe that comment period is still open for a short time and you could submit comments about it. It is not a venue to submit comments about the existence of a congestion pricing program, nor is it the venue to submit comments about the toll levels. There will be a mobility board. The mobility board has been convened. They will have meetings soon. They will likely have their own public feedback process about the tolls in particular. As in regard to the congestion pricing program, it was a state law that was passed in 2019, established by the legislature, signed by the governor. If you have any comments about the existence of congestion pricing, you should go to your local elected official. In terms of Community Board 6 policy on this, we voted on a resolution 5-6 years ago addressing a program called Move New York that was a congestion pricing program. The full board ratified this resolution that encouraged this to be signed and to be drafted and passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. And that was done in 2019 in the form of a law that had some slight differences to it. So the community board's position is in favor of congestion pricing at this moment. We did not address any carve-outs or anything like that. That is currently not on my committee's agenda to discuss carve-outs or exceptions or anything like that. We have been briefed by experts on the issue that exceptions have the potential to ruin the benefits of the program for our district. And our resolution on the matter very clearly outlines that we need the benefits of this program for our district to relieve us from traffic pollution and street safety issues. Does anyone have any questions? I see Anne has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Anne.
Oh, no, that's leftover. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Okay, Jim, you have the floor.
Jim, you're on mute.
Brian, I'm sorry, I thought you were into your report. But what I started to talk about was the fact that the price on the city ferries that go within our district and that a lot of people use to commute will be going, or are now, I guess, at $4 a piece or $4 per fare. And I would urge you to look at the controller's audit, which was the reason that the fare price was increased. If you look at the controller's audit, you'll see that the Economic Development Corporation rejected it out of hand. The controller is using policies that are contradictory to the Federal Transportation Administration methods of accounting. And that's the reason that the price of the ferry went up. And I would urge you strongly to consider it. We're going to discuss it, I believe, in budget. But I would also urge you to discuss it at transportation.
I'll take note of it, but one thing we probably won't do is have a comment on the controller's audit. in terms of the ferry and the fare pricing and whatnot, I will look at it, but at this point, I haven't received any commentary to make me think that we need to draft policy around that. They are allowed to raise their fares if they need to for the health of the program. And one thing that I've heard a lot about the ferry program is that those rides are already very heavily subsidized, even down to the $4 level, never mind the $2.75 level. So the city is paying a lot of money per ride for people who are using those ferries. If they raise the fares a little bit, it brings it closer to general solvency, even though it's being paid for out of EDC funds, and it's essentially a public good being given to the city. Matt, did you have a question or no?
Just kind of, I was curious about the whole mayor crushing like hundreds of street vehicles. Like, did they sell that for scrap? Like, why didn't they just sell those? I don't understand. Like, we could have used that money.
I heard they really have a problem moving them, but that has been raised by a lot of advocates in the city to talk about that that there might be a better use for them. There's not a better use for them within the city limits, though, because those bikes are sold for private use on dirt tracks, and we just don't have the real estate here in the city to provide facilities for that kind of thing. So everywhere they could be ridden is on public streets, so there's no productive use for them for the city itself. I agree that the city, if it repossesses vehicles, it should be disposing of them in the manner in which is most productive, rather than making a big fireworks show out of it. You know, there's other issues at play here, including, you know, if they see people who are interested in recreation, is there a possible way in which we can do this in a safe manner that doesn't involve punishment? Because any teenager who doesn't live in New York City in this country can go somewhere on a dirt bike and ride on a dirt track. And so this is something uniquely, you know, inaccessible here.
All right. Thank you, Brian. I see no further questions. Steve, do you have one last question before we move ahead with the agenda?
Regards to the vehicle crushings, since it's been prevalent recently where it hasn't been just one event, it's been multiple events, it shows that there is a community that is looking for an outlet for this type of activity. Obviously, it doesn't belong in those streets, but is it something that we should do a study where there is a possible site or place that these activities can exercise this type of activity?
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss this more at committee, but essentially, like in principle, I think the open question is the right way to go on that. We have a lot of recreational events in the city that involve closing off roads and providing safe rights of way to different traffic configurations. And that is something, you know, I think pie in the sky is not an option here instead of punishing teenagers who live in our city.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian. And great teaser for the next meeting on October 3rd. So definitely, even if you're not on the committee, please do show up. Obviously, these issues affect all of us. So thank you very much, Brian. We'll now move on to Health and Human Services. Elvie, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'm happy to welcome our new members in the Health and Human Services. Aisha Siddiqui, Gabriel Turso, Jason Promowich, and Sadie Howard. A recap of our previous meeting. Our first meeting this fall was held on September 8th. We had two speakers from the Manhattan Community Engagement at the Public Health Solutions on New York City smoke-free and the services they provide. Their presentations was well received, and they are looking forward to do the same presentation in our full board meeting. Just quick update about monkeypox. We have a total of 3,374 cases in New York City. 1,343 are from Manhattan. We don't know how many are living within our district, so I will reach out to the Department of Health to invite a staff that can update us on this. about the series on healthy living in the community. We are in the process of planning the 4th series, but we haven't finalized the date, the topic, and speakers. So any suggestion for a topic that you seem relevant to our community, let us know. The next Health and Human Services Committee meeting is on October 13th. That's all for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, LV, and thank you so much for being on top of the monkeypox and everything else we're dealing with. And we will share more information as LV provides it with us about access to vaccines and things like that. You've been doing such a great job on that, so thank you very much. Are there any further questions for LV in the Health and Human Services Committee? All right, not seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much, LV. So now move to Youth and Education. John?
Yeah, hi, thank you. I'll try to be brief given the length of the meeting. First of all, I want to welcome and thank the board for giving us 3 new members to the committee: John DeRico, Aisha Siddiqui, and Matt Weintraub. I've spoken with all of them, and they are going to be not only great additions, but virtually double our practical voting and active capacity. So I look forward to working with them. We are moving ahead with several issues. We want to hold a forum in collaboration with District 2 Superintendent's Office on admissions to high schools and other schools, and we are pushing that off out of deference to the borough president, who is meeting with groups around the city as well on that topic at this point. So we will push that till October. We are also looking forward very much to collaborating with the Health and Human Services Committee and the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee on cannabis regulations regarding smoke shops and their proximity to schools, and make sure in collaboration with State Senator Kruger's office that the regulations that the senator so carefully put in her legislation are enforced. Otherwise, we were active over the summer. Even though the committee did not meet and the board did not meet, I delivered a statement on my own behalf, recognizing my affiliation, but not claiming to speak on behalf of the board or the committee to the joint committee of the city council opposing the budget cuts that have been sprung on our schools with so little advance notice, and supporting Controller Lander and is urging that the DOE use a small portion of the remaining stimulus funding to cover the gap in school budgets. And also supporting Controller Lander and others who are urging a review of the Fair Student Funding Framework. These are all issues that we will be looking at in more depth as the year goes forward. Once again, I spoke very clearly in my own capacity as an experienced advocate, but not on behalf of the board or the committee. And I wish to thank the board office and chair for their help and support as we move forward with our agenda this year. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much, John. Are there any further questions for the Youth and Education Committee? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, John. We'll now move on to Public Safety. Matt, go ahead.
Thanks, Kyle. So just a quick update here. We have our first committee meeting of the season coming up tomorrow. We're hoping to be joined by the police precincts to give us updates on everything that's been going on. I know in the 13th precinct especially, there's some shootings and murders over the summer. So definitely want to connect with them and make sure everybody has all the facts there. So that's tomorrow evening at 6:30. We'll also touch on qualified immunity. I know that was an item that was laid over from the spring. So we'll bring that back tomorrow. And just a reminder, the United Nations General Assembly starts up really next week. It'll be the high impact time frame. Travel up and down the east side. But some of the impacts will be even this Friday much more information to be released, but everything from traffic to frozen zones to a lot of street closures, parking restrictions, modifications to bike lanes, ferry disruptions, you name it. Use the subway if you need to get around next week. But we'll have much more information in the coming days. That is it. Kyle, back over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt. Are there any further questions for Matt and the Public Safety Committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the Bylaws Committee. B, do you have an update for us?
Thank you, Kyle. Unfortunately, at our last meeting, we did not have a quorum. So we are now having the meeting at the end of the month. We will have the meeting as to the open meetings law. So we're looking to develop a quorum and a space. And right now, we're seeing how many people can actually attend. So I think, Carl, this would be a good test of how many people are willing to attend in person and whether or not we could deal. We have 3 articles left to deal with. And then we're going to go back to some of the drafted language that we did on the role of officers and the role of elections. So we have our work outlined for us. I think the change in the open meetings law may cause some difficulty in doing a quorum. I hope not.
Okay, thank you very much, B. I see a question from Phil. Phil, go ahead.
Thank you, Kyle. B, will there be a period where the community board can comment on the bylaws before they're voted on?
There will be a period that the community board will get to look at the bylaws for a period of time. And then it will be presented, people will have the opportunity to look at, and then it will come up for a vote. So there will be that opportunity to raise questions.
All right, thank you very much, B. Are there any further questions for the Bylaws Committee? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, B. And we'll move on to Housing and Homelessness. Rich?
Yes, hello, everyone. Do you hear me? Yes, okay, good. So we have not met yet this season. We are meeting on Monday, the 19th. And there are 2 items on the agenda. One is the influx of families into the shelter system, which has led to the opening of some emergency shelters, including the one at the Hotel Marcel at 24th and 3rd that we were speaking about earlier in the public session. The other is nailing down our budget requests. I have promised a discussion document, and I will get it to you all before the meeting, so we have something to talk about. I am planning to bring up in the new business part of the meeting a conversation about our priorities for the year, and ideally to try to draft some volunteers from on our committee to become experts in some of the areas that we plan to cover. So come prepared for that, members. Everyone is welcome. Our meetings are fun, and I hope that we get a good turnout. Thank you all.
All right, thank you very much, Rich. Are there any questions for the Housing and Homelessness Committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Land Use and Waterfront. Sandy?
Yes, we have one resolution, and it's a thank you to our planning fellow, Kiran Malloy. He did an amazing report for us, which is currently on the CV6 website. And I really suggest that everyone take a look at it because it's a great introduction to our district. And it was in response to the 197A plan that was done, I think it's 8 years ago now. But we wanted to show our appreciation for such a great report. And Jim actually wrote this resolution as a thank you. And we want to make sure that that our elected officials get a chance to see this. Are there any questions?
Anne, I see your hand up.
Yes, I just want to reiterate Sandy's comments that even if, land use and waterfront issues are not your thing, like they're not your primary interest, this report is so valuable just for the demographic stuff. Like it's really worth taking, take a half hour and look through it. He just did a terrific job, and it provides a really valuable, just kind of insights about our district and where it is now and how it has changed. And so I would just really recommend everybody, every member, new and old, to take a little time to look at it.
He did a really deep dive into some of the data that we have. And we also, a big thank you to Kavitha, who's vice chair of the committee, who actually led the whole process and came up with the idea to do this particular work with a planning fellow.
Mhm. Yes, and I feel like we need to have your quotes on the back of a book. Adam, I see your hand up.
Yeah, call the question.
All right, call the question. Is that seconded by anyone?
Second.
Seconded by Anne. All right, so let's go back to our digital ballot. And please mark your vote for 7A.
And while you're voting, a big welcome to Majid, our new member. It's always nice to have more architects and planners on the committee, and they bring a different type of expertise. We have not had our first meeting yet, but one of the things that is on the agenda is a view of the Solar 2 design, or Solar 1, Solar 1's new building, which some people call Solar 2. An update on the ESCR that's currently under construction, and trying to gain back some public space under the FDR.
Mm-hmm.
Also use of one of the buildings in our parks that's going to be returned to the community. So it should be an interesting meeting. Do plan to attend.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sandy. And again, want to reiterate, thank you to you and to Kavitha for working with this planning fellow, which is just as difficult sometimes as going through the report itself. And it is a really wonderful report. So please do check it out. The link is in the chat. So if you have not seen it yet, definitely read it this weekend for some light, fun, some weekend reading. But are there any further questions for the Land Use and Waterfront Committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Business Affairs and Licensing. Claire? Claire, I don't know if you're on mute. There you go. Sorry, did we
Call
lose?
the question on item 8A.
Hold up, I just want to, did we lose Claire? Or is
Claire
she
is unmuted, but we're
Claire, I
not
can
hearing her.
hear you,
Does this
yeah.
work?
Ah,
Can
there
you
we
hear
go. Yep, I
Okay,
can hear you.
Sorry. Wow. On one of our last Zoom meetings, potentially. I still haven't. Yeah, sorry. Did
No worries,
someone,
you're all good, you're all good.
Brian
right,
had,
Yeah, Brian,
Oh, motion to bundle.
okay.
Second,
Seconded by Lou.
yeah, so these are from June, bundle, Paige, or your hands down. I guess.
I have my hand up, but I was trying to say bundle, but nobody was paying attention.
Oh, Paige, I'm sorry.
I think everyone wanted to bundle. You were all on
Yes.
the wavelength.
Race to bundle, so better luck next time.
Is there a motion or?
I'll second the motion to bundle.
Oh, it was already seconded, but is there a call to question?
Can I call to question and make a move to pass both these resos?
Second.
Sounds good. Seconded by Brian. So everybody, please go back to your digital ballot and mark your votes for 8A and 8B. And once you've done that, you can actually type in your name and submit your form. And while people are doing that, Claire, do you have a report?
No, just want to echo others in that I'm really excited to welcome new members. Would encourage you to join us at Business Affairs and Licensing. We have a lot planned for this year, continuing our work with nail salon workers and also shifting back to the focus of sex work as well, in addition to anything that our committee members bring up. And seeing as it's close to 9, I'll leave it there, but excited to be back here and hope everyone had a great summer.
Awesome. Thank you, Claire. And are there any further questions for the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Environment and Parks. Go ahead, Kevin.
Thanks, Kyle. Hope everybody had a great summer. And again, yes, welcome new members. I want you to all know that you're going to make a difference in our community, but I think it's important to also note that you should have some fun along the way. It should be a good ride. The Environment and Parks Committee's October 6th meeting featured a deep dive into budget requests. Among those who weighed in were representatives from the Parks Department and from several parks groups in the district. In the meeting, the Chief of Staff for the Borough Parks Commissioner announced that Borough Commissioner Bill Castro is departing his post today. We extended our appreciation for the Commissioner's more than 20 years of service as our borough's Parks Commissioner. Another committee development that came out of the meeting is that committee members will no longer be asked to produce mini meeting minutes. As I first brought up in the executive committee last year, I believe that minutes, as they have been done for multiple centuries, are obsolete. They take too much of our members' valuable time that could be spent on community progress. They are not defined in the bylaws, so no real hurdles to prevent change. In today's digital world, this leaves an opening for automated transcripts. These transcripts are available courtesy of various software programs. They are quickly searchable for keywords and provide more equity, accuracy, objectivity, and transparency. Transcripts should be provided for CB6 meetings. That's the committee report. Kyle, back to you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Are there any further questions for the Environment and Parks Committee? Lou, I see your hand up. Lou, you're on mute.
Yes, I want to find out first if the Parks Committee is planning to have a hearing or an examination of the proposed refranchisement of the refreshment stand in Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza. That the franchisee there's a request out there, a request for proposal. And are we going to be considering that?
Yes, I have been in touch with Kim Baker and Ann Hirsch with the Dag Hammarskjöld Friends of Group, and it will be discussed at our next Parks Committee meeting.
The second question is, are we going to be dealing with the proposed rehabilitation of the landmark property of Tudor City, which is going to be a major project and should be and is in gestation as we speak?
Any information you have on that, Lou, I would love to, if you can float it over. I need to come up to speed on that. Thank you for bringing that up.
The Landmarks Conservancy has already undertaken or started to work on this, and the architectural firms that are being proposed to do the work have already been selected, apparently, so that we're a little behind the curve.
I don't think we're behind. I think has happened multiple times. And I just want to point out to the new members, we're talking about landmarks because even though we're the Environment and Parks Committee, our scope also includes cultural affairs and landmarks. Multiple times we've been in this position where we find out late and we still bring them to the meeting to review their specs. So I plan to do the same.
So this will be on the agenda for the next meeting?
Possibly. I can't make that promise. Again, I would not be concerned about a deadline. We will address it in time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you very much, Lou. Are there any further questions for the Environment and Parks? Lou, your hand's up again. So just making sure. Paige, do you have a question?
Just curious. To my knowledge, Tudor City is already landmarked.
I think he's talking about, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
And secondly, I don't know what you're talking about, architectural work. Buildings were built between 100 and plus years ago, and my building is 93. It's the youngest building. So we were landmarked in 1987.
Right, it could be something as simple as a window.
That's one, okay, that's what would be one building. It wouldn't be the entire Tudor thing. When's your meeting? I want to go to it.
Yeah.
To be determined because it fell on Yom Kippur, so I'm in touch with the office about finding a date that we can have quorum.
And
Oh, wait a second, I'm on that committee. I'm sorry.
Yes, you are.
I'll be there. Don't worry.
And just a reminder, this is a great selling point to attend executive committee, which is where these agenda items are formalized and finalized. So if you
Also,
have more questions or concerns about that, please come
Can I
next
say
week. Mhm. Go
one
ahead,
other thing?
Go ahead, Paige.
Tomorrow night, at the General Mechanics, they are having the people that actually, when we had our windows put in and everything like that, they're going to be having a lecture on it. So if anybody's interested in Tudor City, they should go to that lecture.
I'm
It's
sorry.
online also.
Okay, when is that? Can you?
Tomorrow night
At what time?
6 p.m. It's a General Mechanics.
All
Okay,
right,
great.
Paige, can you send us the link for that and we'll share that around.
Okay, I'll try to find one. Okay.
All right, Jim, do you have any final questions?
Yeah, hi, Kevin. I
Hey, Jim.
don't know if, I don't know if, hi, I don't know if they mentioned it to you. We're trying to raise it through a budget, I guess. We wanted to add composting as an expense budget priority. I don't know if that will go through you or through sanitation or who, but I wanted you to just be aware of it. We only have it one day a week in Manhattan, and it would be good if we could do it to 2 days a week, and also to perhaps make it mandatory in buildings of a certain size.
Yes.
As a
and I
budget
have to be-
priority.
Thank you. And I'm in full agreement with Councilmember Powers on the expansion of that program. So yes, and Reshma and I are discussing budget items. So we will make sure that that is in the appropriate place, which I think is the Environment and Parks Committee.
Okay. Thank you.
Anne?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Kevin, I just wanted to check in with you on whether, kind of what you're thinking. I know you have done so much work on POPs that are not appropriately available to members of the community. And I'm just wondering if there are any updates on, stuff you've done on that, or if it's like on the agenda, or a couple of years ago, we did a kind of like reset, like let's check things out. And I'm just wondering if that's in the plans for the Parks Committee coming up.
Thanks. What we do is we separate what we consider a service request so that the district office can handle it. And Alex and the rest of the office has been really effective, and just a simple request for, let's say, removal of a unused shed in the POPs area. But having said that, there are some issues that go beyond that. It was really nice to see, and actually I think I had routed it to a number of people, hopefully you, Ann, that on the Upper East Side, there was a POPs that had been closed, and they were fined. I believe they started at $10,000, they're fined. And we hope that's going to be the case here. As far as putting a map together, yes. In fact, there's one on 2nd Avenue that I saw the doorman sitting in 2nd Avenue near Dag Hammarskjöld. If you know the west side of the street, I can't give you a cross street.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. 47th, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I went and sat down with the doorman. He said, "You can't be here." And I said, "Why not? All the things that are posted are outdated." He said, "Well, we just don't like certain people here." Obviously, that's something that we flagged. So we're putting that list together so that we can do a full audit. You want to help with it?
I don't always make your meetings, but put me on the list of people that I'm happy to do reality checks on what's going on.
Yeah, you know that I'm not below sitting in a restaurant that's using pop space and say that I have to order something. I did that at 33rd and 3rd. Anyway, thanks for the interest.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. And
Sure.
we'll now move on to Budget and Governmental Affairs. Reshma?
Thank you, Kyle. And I'd like to also welcome all the new members, especially the 3 new members on the Budget Committee, Nad Kilani, Jason Littman, and Hannah Singleman. We had our first meeting this week, and it was a deep dive into learning about the Budget Committee for them. So thank you. And thank you to all the committee chairs who I've had a lot of back and forth with this past month, and especially this past week on the budget request. Our last meeting, we went item by item. We have some new items and some new changes that I'll be talking to you if I haven't talked to you already. And if you have changes that we haven't discussed or you haven't heard from me, please reach out. Our last meeting is in October, and then we'll be making a submission by the end of October.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reshma. Are there any further questions for the Budget and Governmental Affairs Committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next committee, elections. Larry, go ahead.
The CB6 Elections Committee consists of Sandra Leftoff, Letty Simon, and myself, Larry Shire, as chair. We met via conference call on July 23rd and on August 31st, 2022. Nominations were received, and the chair of the Elections Committee communicated with all candidates confirming their desire to hold office. The meetings were held in accordance with Article 3, Sections A and B of CB6 bylaws. The Elections Committee reports the following nominees. For chair, 2 candidates, Kyle Athaide and Kevin O'Keefe. For first vice chair, Mark Thompson. For second vice chair, Sandro Sherrod. For treasurer, B. Dismond. For assistant treasurer, Adam Hartke. For secretary, Stephen O. And for assistant secretary, there's presently no nomination. At this full board meeting, the September meeting, members of the board may offer additional nominees from the floor, including themselves, but not including members of the Elections Committee. All nominees from the floor must confirm their acceptance of the nomination in person or immediately in writing. No nominations will be accepted after this opportunity that's given at this meeting. So at this time, I will entertain nominations from the floor. Please raise your hand through Zoom to be recognized, either to nominate yourself or to nominate another board member.
I see Mark Thompson has his hand raised.
Mark.
I'll unmute. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Jesus. I am very pleased and honored to nominate Laura Wong as Assistant Secretary.
Thank you, Mark. Maura, please unmute yourself.
Hi. Hi, and thanks, Mark.
Maura, please answer the following question. If you are elected Assistant Secretary, will you serve?
Yes, I will serve if elected. Thanks, Larry.
Okay, this candidate is acceptable. And are there any other nominations from the floor? If so, please raise your hand through Zoom. I see Letty Simon's hand is raised.
I just have a question.
I can't hear you, Letty.
Who are the nominees for treasurer and assistant treasurer?
B is the nominee, B Disman is the nominee for treasurer, and Adam Hartke is the nominee for assistant treasurer. B and Adam, if I'm incorrect, please speak up.
So this is Larry, I was trying to get your attention. This is B, because I
Yes.
think if you look at it, I'm listed as assistant treasurer and Adam is listed for treasurer. That's on what you communicated. I think you reversed it in your discussion.
Yeah, that's correct.
That was my question. Thank you.
So B, you are self-nominating for what position?
No, I'm not. If you look at the memo that you sent out with the following nominees, you had for treasurer, Adam, and for
Oh,
assistant treasurer,
you're
B.
right.
Disman.
You're right. I am so used to you being such an excellent treasurer that my mind slipped up, and I anointed you where you deserve to be available for pinch hitting if Adam can't do it. So I
Thank you, Larry.
apologize. I apologize for the confusion.
No problem. I just wanted to go back to your own memo. Thank you so much.
Right. So to correct myself, Adam Hartke is the nominee for treasurer. B. Disman is the nominee for assistant treasurer.
And just to
Do
clarify,
we have any other nominees from the floor or any other questions? Letty?
No, my question was, I thought you had reversed the treasurer and assistant treasurer, and that was answered. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hopefully it's straightened out to everybody's satisfaction. Now, Jim, you have the floor. And please unmute yourself.
I'd like to nominate Rajesh for second vice chair.
Rajesh, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Just because I like to see the leadership of this thing change periodically.
This has become a pattern of you nominating Rajesh. If you're elected,
No, I don't think I've nominated him before.
if you are Rajesh, if you are elected second vice chair, would you serve?
You know, I can make a Sherman-esque statement and say that I'm not fit in the position.
Okay, sorry, Jim.
Appreciate it, Jim.
No, and nothing against Sandro. It's just I like to see the leadership change. I mean, you know, Sandro was chair of the committee, and then he was chair of land use, and then he was chair. It's been the same circulation all the time, and tied, I'm sure, to the fact that he's a district leader or was a district leader.
Oh, Jim, we have 3 new names that are running this year, so you.
No, I know. I saw.
Be aware. Okay,
Just for the minutes, Raj, what was your response again?
It was no.
Sherman-esque.
Thank you. Got it.
Okay, now Ann Seligman.
Actually, I think Mark was up first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'd way rather hear what he has to say.
Oh, no. I was going to ask that recipe.
Mark, you are honored to have the floor next.
All right, thanks. I just had a quick question. I want to thank Mara because I think the world of you, obviously, as do many of us. So thank you. And Jim, understand what you say. We do need more people to step up, and we're trying to do that this year. I think it's been successful getting some new people in. So thank you, new folks, for doing that. And I encourage everyone to think about doing something next year. Start thinking about it now. The next question is, do those of us who are nominated need to accept right now, or was that already done?
That's already been done and reported on. And the new nominee has also been accepted.
Okay. All right. That was my question. So I'm good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, Ann, you have the floor.
Okay. I will acknowledge at the start the hypocrisy of my statement, because I have never been willing to take on any kind of leadership role. But Jim, is there a role that you are willing to accept a nomination for? I
Absolutely
agree.
not.
Okay, so because I
But there are
thank
plenty
you,
of other
but
people.
I'm not
there are
willing to
plenty
do
of-
it myself, so.
There are plenty of people that would be willing to do it, I'm sure, if asked. Or, as a matter of fact, if anyone wants to raise their hand now and nominate themselves, I'm happy to nominate them as well.
So,
Anybody volunteer?
with that as a segue, not seeing any other hands raised, I will ask again, are there any more nominations from the floor? If so, please raise your hand through Zoom.
Move that nominations cease.
Seeing none, seeing no hands raised, the nominations for CB6 board officers are hereby closed. The election will take place at the October full board meeting. Now, candidates for all of the offices, you're going to be given an equal opportunity to submit an optional formal written statement that I will have circulated to all board members in the coming month. I request that the statement be emailed to me, Chair of the Elections Committee, no later than Wednesday, September 28th. In addition, immediately prior to the voting at the October meeting, each candidate, if they wish, will also be given 3 minutes to deliver an oral presentation to their fellow board members, highlighting their qualifications for the office they are seeking. Good luck to all the candidates, and I look forward to seeing you again next month at the election.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay, thank you to Larry and the Elections Committee. I will now move on to old or new business. So board members, if you have any old or new business to state, please raise your hand through Zoom. Okay, seeing none, we'll now move on to the second roll call. Matt, you there?
Yep, I'm here. All right, so members, I will now call on you for the second roll call. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so now. If you are unable to use the digital ballot, I will ask you for your vote on each of tonight's resolutions. Do we have any outstanding ballots? That's a question for the board office.
We need a ballot for Jim Collins. We need a ballot. That's it, actually, Jim Collins.
Here.
We need your ballot, Jim. This is
Okay.
not.
Sorry.
Okay,
I'll send it
go
in
ahead.
momentarily. Yep.
I'll go ahead and take the attendance. We'll go from, we'll start with Ronnie White,
Have a good evening, everyone.
thank you, Ronnie. Maura Wong,
Present.
Matthew Weintraub,
Present.
Brian Van Nieuwenhoven,
Present.
Gabe Terzo,
Present.
thank you, Gabe. Mark Thompson,
Present.
Susan Steinberg,
Present.
Hannah Singleman is not here. Letty Simon,
Present.
Aisha Siddiqui,
Sorry, I'm present. My bunny. Sorry.
okay, thank you. Sandro Sharad, Seema Shah,
Present.
Lou Sapersky,
Yo,
Ann Seligman,
Here.
Lawrence Shire,
Present.
Matt Roberts.
Present.
Matt, I just want to note that I also marked you present on the first roll call because I saw you there.
Oh, thanks. Perfect.
Reshma Patel,
Present.
Stephen O,
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe,
Still present.
Rajesh Nayar,
Present.
Philip Napolitano,
Present.
Richard Mintz,
Present.
Sandra McKee,
Present, sorry, present.
got it, thank you. Kavitha Matthew,
Here.
Anton Malner,
Present.
Jason Lippman,
Present.
Sandra Leftoff,
Here.
Abigail Cruzmark, Nadeem Kulani,
Present.
John Keller,
Present.
Paige Judge,
Present.
Sadie Howard,
Present.
Molly Hollister,
Here.
Adam Hartke,
Present.
Eric Goldberg, Jason Frunowitz,
Present.
Jeannie D'Onofrio, B. Disman,
Present.
got it, B, thank you. Michael Devereaux,
Present.
Stuart Desser,
Present.
Jonathan Derrico, did I say that right?
Dorico, that's all right. Present.
Rico, okay, sorry, I'll get it right, thank you. Jim Collins,
Here.
Claire Brennan,
Here.
LV Barosa,
Present.
Marty Barrett, Neil Barkley,
Present.
Kyle Athide,
Present.
Majed Abdul Samad.
Present.
Thank you all. Let's read some outcomes of the resolutions. Transportation 1A is 41 in favor, one abstain, one not entitled to vote. Transportation 1B was the hand vote that was returning that item to committee. I believe there were 28 votes in favor of that. We've got land use 7A. There were 43 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, no not entitleds. For business and licensing 8A, 43 in favor, no opposed, no abstain, no not entitled. And business and licensing 8B, 43 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, and no not entitled. And that concludes both the roll call and the reading of the votes.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. If there are no objections, we will now adjourn the meeting. So
Happy
seeing
holidays, everybody.
no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 9:23 p.m.